I'm Steve Williams, I'm the Director of Technology for XpertHR. I've got about 20 minutes to take you through what this FedEx Day idea is. It's really about engagement, but from two angles. One is engaging with our business and all the different teams that form our business, but also engaging with the customer. So right from the top, so hopefully you all know who FedEx are, global courier company. They have a number, or have had a number, of marketing taglines over the years, but it's probably the one in red that you're most familiar with. So when it absolutely positively has to be there overnight, talking about their packages. So what happened then, there was an Australian company, software company called Atlassian. And the developers in the audience will know them from producers of Jira, Confluence, etc. And they said, hang on a minute, shipping packages in a day is like shipping software, surely. We can ship enhancements in a day. Why don't we give it a go? So what they did was they had competitions within their organisation to come up with teams that would tackle problems in a day. Developers would work with marketeers, would work with salespeople, work with product people, and ship small enhancements the next day, or as near as damn it after the event. So when I found out about this, I thought, well, hang on, if Atlassian can do it, why can't we do it in XpertHR? So we went away and we tried to tackle this problem. Dominic Feltham is doing his latest roadshows of strategy presentations. Last year, one of the big points he got across was we need to remove the reliance on things like acquisitions and capital spend. Now, I'm not saying they're not important, they're absolutely important. But as someone who has an incredibly large depreciation on his budget, we need to get away from away from capital spend, certainly. So how can we build in incremental enhancements? So we tried doing the FedEx days. We had some immediate success. We ran one back in November last year, and I will go into a lot more detail about what a FedEx day is, so to just bear with me. We started having really good ideas from people within the business who previously had had no voice. We started seeing marketing people work more closely with development and product to form these virtual teams that would approach the problem from lots of different ways. But there was something missing. All our ideas were coming from within XpertHR. We hadn't ratified it with the customer. We have a process, which I'm sure all of you are aware of, called Recommend, which asks our customers what they think of our products and platforms. What would you do to improve it? How likely are you to recommend this to somebody else? So we have all this information that Diane's group puts together for all of the markets at RBI. I used to work on Estates Gazette, I now work on XpertHR, and I can say, put my hand up and say, I don't think we've worked enough on this over the years. We have all this information, and fortunately our backlogs, our capital projects, our acquisitions take first billing. The customers are the people that pay the money at the end of the day. We need to be responding much quicker to their feedback. Do you all understand the term pragmatic marketing? It's a term that's been used quite a lot over the last couple of years at RBI. Don't expect you to read that. I'm going to highlight three things. They're all customer related. An outside-in approach increases the likelihood of product success. So an outside-in approach is your customers looking from the outside in and giving you the feedback on what they think about your products. Particularly like number 6. Your opinion, although interesting, is irrelevant. Back it up with data. We're not interested in, sorry if there's any marketing people here, I don't mean to offend you, I'm just going to pick on you. We're not interested if you come to us and say, you need to develop that. We want to understand which customers have been saying that. The answer to most of your questions is not in the building. So that backs it up again. The answers to these problems are outside in the customer base. So, a few more, apologies. If you don't build a capability to respond to customer problems quickly, or any type of development quickly, you can bet your bottom dollar your competitors are going to do exactly that. You can't sit still, you have to be looking at this now. in a digital age, your customers will expect you to turn these improvements around quickly. The days of the 3-month, the 6-month, the 9-month, even the 12-month release should be gone by now. We need to be able to be releasing in a sprint cycle, 3, 2, 1 week cycles. The recommend, we found, is so specific with the verbatim. It's the best tool we have for this outside-in view of the world. However, I've already said there are other high priority items which have deadlines. They have costs associated to them where you have to hit your targets. It's not easy to do this. You have to have a balance. But bringing people together on a day is quite surprising how much you can actually pick off. And I'm now going to take you through exactly what the FedEx day is. The last point on here, the feedback that I had from people within the teams about how much fun it was on the day was fantastic, because rarely do they have the opportunity to form these virtual teams on a project. It just doesn't work. But I'm going to talk a lot more about that later. So how does it work in practice then? Big process diagram. He's a tech guy, what did you expect? The reason I did this was because people kept asking me what a FedEx day was, and I got sick of explaining it. So I came up with a little process diagram, and I'm going to go through each of the individual bits which make up the flow. So right over on the left-hand side, you've got what looks like a spreadsheet, and is in fact the recommend spreadsheet. And what we're doing is we're converting that all the way over to software, which gets demonstrated at the end of the FedEx day. So step 1, there's 8 steps to this. So the first step is slice and dice. We're lucky to have Dan Hopper, standing up at the back, working with us on Expert. So Dan literally came to a meeting with chopped up verbatim. Nothing more scientific than that. Literally A3 sheets of customer feedback cut up into individual items. 287? So these are 287 comments from people who think we could improve our platform. Thankfully, there are a lot more who said it's great. So we sifted off the positive comments, Dan printed and cut these up, came to the meeting with a big brown envelope, and that was about it. That's the first step done. The second part was a bit more involved. So we started to get people from product management, marketing, customer success, customer insight, technology, business analysis, in a room to go through these items one by one. And I tell you, when you see in print what your customers are telling you about your platforms, your products, it's a real eye-opener. Because it's so easy to say, we've spent millions on this, it's a fantastic product, it's gone through testing, testers love it, business like really say it's fantastic, but then your customers come back and say, yeah, I like the old site, I can't work out how search works, logins doesn't really work for me, navigation, not quite right. So the idea of this second stage was to group them into themes. So things like search, login and navigation. We added the demographic information. We added things like what sector were they in, how often do they use the site, age group. We added things like the NPS score. Extra information which would help us form an opinion about how angry that comment was and how widespread it was. And then we put them all up on Yammer. And that's quite important. We're using Yammer exclusively as the collaboration method for this piece of work. I've got some photos later on the deck. We also printed out the verbatims as speech bubbles and colour-coded them. So if they were detractors, they were red. If they were passives, they were orange. If they were promoters, they were green. So you can see on the photo that's coming up, for a particular topic like login, what is the anger point? What are people actually saying about login? And it really helps to explain it. Now the fun starts. So putting it on Yammer is promoted okay, these are all the problem statements. How are we going to fix them? So people started to post their ideas. Some people would say, that's a great idea, but we could also do it like this, Or, no, that's not going to work, surely a better idea is. And you're just building up a dialogue in one place about how you would tackle that problem. What was really good is that, let's say I'm going to pick on marketing again. So let's say marketing had an idea. They would get so far and they wouldn't know technically how to do it. So they'd have to involve a developer. So you'd see people coming over and having discussions at their desk, updating Yammer, and then say, well, we need an editorial person. We can't go any further. So your teams are increasing by default, which is great. When the ideas were fully formed, we introduced this step after the first FedEx day we did. Purely because we didn't want to add a layer of bureaucracy, but we did have a problem after the first day, and that was quite a few teams were chancing their arm. They were saying, this little tweak, could you do it? Did actually turn out to be a 3-month project. So we had to have a step in here to stop that. So we're answering 2 questions, and that's it. What is your idea? 3 questions. What is your idea? What benefit does it give? And how do you know it's going to fit into a day? So you have to, if it's a technical solution, you have to consult with the technicians. Number 5 is the FedEx day. It's a 1 day. It starts at 9, it ends at 4. That's the time slot you've got to do development, prototyping, anything goes really, market analysis. And here's another important point. It doesn't have to be a technical solution. We are limited by the number of developers we've got because there's no other group that can do that. But on our first day, we looked at, on our second day, we looked at something strategic around sales. Could we change the sales process to make it a more efficient unit? We looked at rolling out a product management tool, a bit like Jira in the US. Didn't require any development. It literally was looking at the market, seeing what products were out there. But the framework's the same. You bring all the right people together so you can discuss the problem. Okay, you could say, but that's not linked to a customer. A customer's not saying, I want you to roll out a product management tool. But if that unit is more streamlined, it's only going to involve more benefit for the customer at the end of the day. Lawrence Mitchell's not here, is he? The last FedEx day was the day after the wellbeing day. So all this walking around the building with how many steps you've taken and having your heart rate measured and your blood pressure, etc. I think we went through 14 double deep pan stuffed crust pizzas, but there's a lot of developers involved. I didn't say anymore. Collaboration is key. It doesn't work if people don't collaborate. Now, I'd love to say that all of XpertHR were involved in the day, but they weren't. Some people, I'll just see what's happening. I'm not going to get involved at this stage. But the ones that did, they have to work collaboratively together. Otherwise, it just falls apart. It's frantic. The day is frantic. Everyone is exhausted by the end of the day. But as you'll see in a subsequent slide, the amount of stuff we get through is really quite phenomenal. Presentation. So we try to make this as informal as we could. We want to see what the guys have done. We want a demo. So the whole presentation is all centered around the demo. But it answers another question at a high level, what is your idea and what does it solve for the customer? Time box of 5 minutes. I've actually got a video coming up, so you'll see the counter. So we are quite strict keeping to that. And the last question, how do I get this live? So build it in a day, FedEx. Okay. Still work for a big corporate. We've got some red tape we need to cut. We need to make sure that it's fully tested. We only have 2 testers in Expert. We can't test everything to the nth degree and ship it on that day. So we need to write some testing stories and we need to execute that. There might be something introduced where we've got a nod from security that it's good to go, but we need to go through the formal process of reviewing that. So we can't say that everything goes live on the day, but what we try to do, and each of the days has improved this, is the time from the end of the day to when it is actually live. And wine and beer always help the presentations. As you'll see in the video, it's kind of shaky. That's because the guy holding the phone, taking it, had about 2 Stellas before he even got going. So you just have to bear with it. It's not kind of method standards, quality, etc. But just bear with me with that one. And we give prizes to the winning team. So it is a competition, and that's an important point. We want people to really work hard and have some reward at the end of the day. But the ultimate reward is to the customer. So it's a little bit, well, it's not that competitive, but it's quite a good vibe. Okay, so we've just done one, and we're in rollout mode now. So like I said, we need to finish off some of the testing stories. There is one enhancement we've done around security, which we just need to get some more validation. And the idea is we deploy to live as soon as we're ready. Now, this is the new one. We haven't done this yet. So I'll be talking to Dan and Diane, etc., on how to do this. We need to re-engage the customer because we've fixed their problems in theory. We have a customer success team headed up by Shannon Hyson back in Sutton. So Shannon's going to be heavily involved in speaking to the customers who have raised the issues in our verbatim and saying, this is what we've done, what do you think? And we've also got the next wave of recommend. We want to get a better positive score next time. Ultimately answer the question, how do we do? So what have we achieved? So we've done 3 days now. We've achieved quite a lot. I'm just going to pick on a couple of these. I don't know if you know Expert that well, but it's a tool for HR professionals. So lots of content about how to deal with certain situations in the workplace. And one thing we've got, I don't think this pointer actually works, right in the middle at the top, we have an application called LiveFlow, which is a workflow application. The problem we've got is that the application is separate from the main site. So this is literally stepping through, let's say, a disciplinary process. Now, each step of the way it gives you advice on how to handle that. But we also have articles for LiveFlow, which is on a completely separate platform. So what we did, we wired it up in the day. And what we saw when that went live, which was about 2 days after the FedEx day, the traffic increased by 75% in that area of the site, which is pretty impressive. Google Tag Manager, we rolled out that in a day. We didn't migrate all the tags, but we rolled out the ability for marketing to maintain tags in that area so they don't ever have to come to developers. Happy days. The winners from the last day, the one just below Google Tag Manager, auto-find. So we got 24% of people complaining about search. We use the autonomy search engine. I'm sure that some of the developers in the audience will probably smile at that point. We are looking to replace it, but that's a big project. You can't do that in a day. Absolutely no way. So we're looking at doing some tactical improvements. One of the feedback items was, I've searched for something, but the first search result back doesn't bear any relevance to what I've searched for. So when you open up the document, you find that search term, but it's on page 25. You've got to scroll and scroll and scroll. So what the guys did was they implemented this auto-find, so that when you open the article, it automatically scrolls you down and highlights the text you searched for. That's going to be going live in a couple of weeks. Live Agent Chat, we rolled out Live Agent as a project earlier this year. This is Salesforce's chat functionality. We're now using it to trigger the chat window based on a poor search experience. So we're looking at the behavior of the users and saying, if they've got no results back, they're sitting there looking at the screen, why have we got no results back? So we're engaging with them through chat. And 2 others I just want to point out, bottom left and bottom right. Those aren't technical solutions, but they were looked at in a day, and we have solutions for them in a day. In fact, the one on the left, which is looking at vertical selling strategies, was literally just a plan of execution. That was the deliverable at the end of the day. So in pictures, so this is the first meeting. This is after Dan sliced and diced the verbatim. This is categorizing it. So here you've got David Shepherd, who works in the product teams, Miranda Pickford, who's a commercial product manager, Jen Fox, who's in marketing, Michelle works for Meetings and Technology, Shannon heads up customer success, and Dan's there on the left. So a very good group, hopefully covering off most of the bases there. This is the colour-coded customer problems I mentioned earlier. So you can see the one on the right is quite noisy, lots of red, lots of yellow. The one next to it's got more green. Doesn't mean to say we don't look at those, but we just need to take it in context. Although somebody's saying, I find the search not great, they might still give us 10 for NPS. So we have to bear that in mind. This is one of the teams. The two ladies at the back work in editorial. You've got designer Billy Stagg on the left and Tony Smith, who is a senior developer in the XpertHR team. So again, you've got this idea of a multidisciplinary team. These are the sales guys and the customer success guys talking about that vertical selling. They work extremely hard all day, and they're rolling out their new process as we speak. This is a good one. So Tim, who's at the back, is in Sutton on the screen. And on the left, we've got Alicia Smith. And on the right, we have Richard Blount, who work in product and production, editorial production, respectively. And you've got Michael Cardman from our New York office on Skype. Tim's doing the work from Sutton. They're telling him how they want it to work. So it's an ongoing discussion throughout the day. We can do this. We don't have to have international boundaries. We can do this. It's just a little bit more difficult because of the time zone difference. Ignore the idiot bottom left. This is the FedEx selfie. So lots of mix of people there. We've even got some guys from IOG in the back there as well. And these are the winners. There are actually two teams that won. I'm going to show you a little video which I hope works now. So, government health warning. The quality of this video is utterly dreadful, but hopefully you can see what we kind of did for a presentation.
So, I'm team one, Alex, Jiva. Sorry, I was going to pronounce it wrong.
Any louder?
So we did redesign the health and support section. So our idea delivers a user-friendly health and support section that educates customers on navigating and using XpertHR from the beginning. So we did this because our customers said that they didn't understand how to navigate and use the site to find the content that they need.
That's on the video, that's not on here.
Guys, can you put your phone on? Can you put your phones on mute if you're not presenting? Because we're getting some feedback here. Just keep your phones onto mute. Thanks.
Just start 6 on mute. These participants visualize. Right. So just so you all know, the support section, and it really is just a list of a quick start guide, troubleshooting, and benchmarking. So they don't obviously link together apart from the quick start guide, troubleshooting, telling everyone our problem with the site straight away, and then we have benchmarking. So what we decided to do was redesign it. So here we are. So this is 6 sections that we have tabbed together. We've done this based on best practice that Guru from the Customer Insight team helped us find. And why the 6 sections? Well, really, it just comes from time. Well, really, it's just helping guide people from the beginning when they start with us to the end. So from getting them started, explaining all the sections that we need on the site and how to use them, then on to training and guidance where they can videos, pop the Q&As that the customer success team have helped us gather into a more user-friendly format. Managing my account, because that's the standard on most health and support sections, so you know what to do. Video tutorials to explain in even more detail about how the site can benefit and the product can benefit them. Then also tapping on another one of the feedbacks on explaining to our customers all the additional products and services that we can have. So not only does this look really pretty, but we get contact and legal advice. They can now also, when you hover over any of these, they all have like a border and pop out and underline. And then now when you click through, we've actually, for the day, created all of the content to sit behind these or used and linked to other content from before. And then we've also... We've also now started to implement the smart breadcrumb at the top. So now when you click into the sections, you can actually see where you are and you can navigate back to help and support. We also, with the video tutorials, have used the tabs feature that exists under What I Choose so that you can see the videos and it explains a bit more about them all. And then additional products and services of this links to the existing content and just pulls everything together. So that's the new help and support. So really, all that is outstanding to get this live, to go live on the site, is to just make sure that the lines and tabs are completely compatible with all the XpertHR styles. Just review the code that's created, because it's a new template for the help and support homepage. We've created mute them. Stay sick to mute them. And then so like I mentioned, we've created 21 articles within a local test environment, and we've actually kept all the HTML for that so that can then be copied and replicated onto the live site, and obviously it's some Q&A testing. And that is the help and support section.
So they were one of the winners. The other one being the auto search within the document. So, some final thoughts. I'm going to go a little bit off topic for 2 minutes. I promise I won't say anything too controversial. We talk a lot about innovation. We just need to get on and do it. To me, innovation isn't something that you should have an objective saying you should be doing innovation this year in your PDP. Being innovative is far more important. It is a behavioural competency, not a KPO. I asked you at the start what your job titles were. When I said, did anyone work in innovation, everyone put their hand up, because you all do. You can't work and produce innovative products without being innovative. And you all must come together as a group to do that. It's not one person's problem. Now, I know within RBI we have job titles that have innovation in it. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but we all need to share our ideas on that. And there's a really nice article here, I'm not going to click it, but it's from the Harvard Business Review, about contemporary business. It's important to have these decisions as a group if you're going to have a strong business. It shouldn't be dictated to from up above about what products we should be building. Don't put it off, because your competitors aren't going to do that, and your customers are going to expect quick turnarounds to their problems. Any graduates here?
No.
The graduates have great ideas. Young people have great ideas. It's really encouraging seeing them on the FedEx Day about how they tackle a problem, which is completely different to how I tackle a problem, but they come up with all the great ideas, not me. And don't be afraid to fail, but fail fast. That's all stuff we know. We've been to presentations about that. I want to leave you with this last slide, which I pinched from Eric Schmidt's How Does Google Work book. Power has shifted within companies. Individuals and small teams can have a massive impact. I didn't put that as capitals, that's the quote. Create new ideas, experiment, fail, and try again, and get their success to a global market. We've tried to do that with the FedEx Day, and we're starting to see some successes. I truly believe that the idea of the FedEx Day can work across all the markets at RBI. So my advice is, if you're interested in that, give it a go, and we're here to help if you've got any questions. Okay, thank you very much. Cheers.